Okay. All right. Now, I was eavesdropping on some of you during your map test, and you were saying, "Oh, I never memorized the trig problems because my math two teacher let me use a toolkit all year." Well, just to let you know, on our next quiz for chapter 2, we're doing trig problems with no notes. So if you never learned the trig setup, now's the time. Please stop talking. Okay, the way that you remember, well, the best way to remember is using this called SOHCAHTOA. SOHCAHTOA is a helpful tool to help you memorize sine, cosine, and tangent. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. And tangent is opposite over adjacent. This will help you figure out which is which and help you set up the equation. First, what you do is you mark the angle that they gave you. This time they gave me 30 degrees, so I mark it. And then I want to mark the two sides that they gave me labeled as opposite, adjacent, or hypotenuse. I always start with the hypotenuse. I can tell that that's where the 8 is because it's across from the right angle. And x is opposite of the 30. Okay, then I say, all right, this one has opposite and hypotenuse, so that has to be the SO part of SOHCAHTOA. S is sine, and you put sine of the angle equals, and then OH is opposite over hypotenuse. Okay, now we're going to solve for x times 8 times 8, cancel. 8 times sine 30 equals x. When you're taking your quiz in a couple of weeks, this is where you will leave the problem. This will be your final answer because you won't have a calculator. You can't do the rest of it, except for that I know this one is 4 because I'm a nerd, but this one, this would be where you would leave the final answer. This is called exact form. Okay, now we're going to do the approximate form in the calculator. So get your calculator out. Don't mind my AP stats. First thing you need to do is make sure your calculator is in degree mode. So if you have a newer calculator, it will tell you at the top, it'll say degrees if you're in degree mode. If you're in radians mode, that means your calculator is probably brand new or somebody just like reset it. And so to fix that, you want to hit the mode button, which is right next to the blue one, the mode button. And then you want to scroll with the arrow keys to where it says degrees. So it's blinking on top of the word degree, and then hit enter. And it'll change it to degrees for you. You want to be in degrees because the problem has degree symbols in it. Okay, now how do you get out of here? So see this above mode, it says quit. So go second quit, and it gets you back out to the regular screen. Okay, now we're going to do 8 times sine 30. And now it will do it in degrees. And 4. And you're thinking to yourself, how can 4 be approximate? But you guys should have done enough of these where you know most of them come out to be a decimal. 4 is a unusual answer. Okay, moving on to number 19. The first thing I need to tell you about number 19 is there's a little symbol in here. His name is theta. And theta is the variable that we use most of the time for angles. So I'm going to do the same process I did up here. I'm going to mark the angle they gave me. I notice nothing is on the hypotenuse, so I'm not going to put anything there. Is 3 opposite or adjacent? Perfect. Is 10 opposite or adjacent? Adjacent. This one has O and A. So that's going to be TOA. Beautiful. Okay, the T in TOA stands for tangent. Tangent of theta. This time you don't have the angle. You're going to solve for that. So you're going to put theta there equals opposite over adjacent. Okay, and this is a little different from the last one because the variable is now the angle. So we have to undo tangent. And to undo tangent, we tan inverse. Tan inverse is above tangent on the calculator. So you have to hit the blue button for tan inverse. But this is where you would stop on the quiz anyway. That's exact form. Okay, but let's practice this. Tan inverse 3 divided by 10, 16.7 degrees. And that's approximate form. All right. So hold on, I'll look at your calculator in a second. But if you guys could please turn to the scavenger hunt and then leave that open. If you have it done, I'm going to be stamping it later. So don't put your packet away. Just turn to the scavenger hunt if you have it done so I can stamp it. Otherwise, your packet is done for today. Yeah. Yeah. Just not right now. I'm gonna give you guys something to do and then I'm gonna stamp it. Not yet. I explain. I explain. Okay, so you're gonna wanna leave like an extremely large amount of room for this. Um, if you started this at the top of the page, like leave the whole page for this. So I wanted to give you guys something to do for a second while I was passing this stuff out. But we need to actually take notes on how to do this before we start. The notes are extremely short, but you just need to find a different spot in your notebook that's not going to be right next to this. Okay, so for example, I left this. I'm going to leave this. And then I have my notes on the other side. So first get this situated. Then find me like a different spot in your notebook, but I just slipped to the next page. And what I want you to do is set this up. This is all of the notes you need. So you'll notice that the shapes, I gave you a bunch of them at your table. You could just cut them out and either tape or glue stick them in. I think I gave you 8 per table. You only need 4. I don't know what happened. I got crazy with the copy machine. It's fine. We're gonna have a lot of extras. So just write this and then either tape or paste one of those guys into your notes. And you're just gonna write all of this down and then I'll go over every bit of it so you know what we're doing. One poor person in your group's gonna have to fall on the sword and do the cutting. And then it says shape right next to the box of shapes. All right, so let me go over this stuff with you. If you're still writing, it's okay. I'm gonna just zoom in on certain things and then I'll move it down again, I promise. Okay, so my first and fifth period told me that this sounded familiar, socks, that they'd heard it before. I couldn't remember what it was, but they're like, I've definitely heard it. We taught it to you in Math 1, especially if you had me, Miss Rice. We definitely did this in Math 1 at the very end of the year. But Mr. Rodabber did it too. Three of us always do the same thing. And we did like histograms and box plots and stuff. So today is basically like free AP Stats day. If you're going to take AP Stats, this would be the first thing that you would learn when you got from Stats. The first thing I need to tell you is that these are not the only possible shapes. These are just the most common ones. But when I say unimodal, the first thing I need to remind you is that for middle school, the mode is the most. Remember, the mode is the one that occurs the most. So unimodal means one most or one peak. So the most is where the peak is. This is bimodal, which means it has two peaks, and multimodal has multiple peaks. When you see that word modal, just change it to peaks in your mind. The other thing I need to tell you is that this skew feels the opposite of what it should in your mind. It's like counterintuitive. So people are like, why is this skewed left? Most of my data is on the right. That doesn't seem right. Okay, when you say skew left, I want you to think of it like it was pulled left. My AP Stats kids tell me that the skewed left graph looks like my dinosaur, and they take the word skew and change it to the word tail. And so they're like, oh, his tail is going to the left, so it's skewed left. And then they tell me that they take the word skew and put the word tail. This one's right tail, and that one is left tail. See, my TA is so helpful. Yeah, I know, they're pretty smart. Okay, and then uniform, this one I like to think of it like when you cut your grass in the backyard, like it's pretty even, but it's not perfect. Okay. Now, next things. Outliers. Outliers are values that are far away from the other data. Outliers are not really good. Usually it's bad to have an outlier. There's an actual process, a procedure to determine if a number is an outlier, but we won't learn it in Math 3. That's an AP Stat thing. So because I'm particular though, when I talk about outliers, I'm going to say possible outlier in this class because we will not have done the math to find out. But we just kind of eyeball it, guess. There are two measures of center we use in this class, mean and median. And those have symbols because we're just too lazy to write the words. So the mean symbol is called X bar. And if you notice over here, my poster, it said, I hear she's really mean, and the teacher is an X bar symbol. So you can remember that that's the mean. And then median is not fancy, it's just a capital M. And then there's three measures of spread. The range is the max minus the min. You guys know what this stands for? IQR, do you remember it? Interquartile range. Quartile 3 minus quartile 1. And then standard deviation, that was that really long thing to calculate by hand, but we're not going to do it by hand in this class. I write this because I'm too lazy, and that's the symbol in the calculator is SX. Okay. Now we're going to do the actual math problem. We're actually going to do two math problems. I'm going to do 101 with you, and then you guys are going to do number 102. Yes, of course. Good. Okay. So go back to this. You left a lot of room. And we are going to make a histogram box plot with our map score data. So look at the paper I gave you with the list of numbers. Group C is your class. This is fourth period's map scores. So all of fourth period's map scores. Group B is one of my other classes, and that one is a secret for now. Okay, it says create two combination histogram box plots, one for each group of data. Start at 200 and use a bin width of 10. Okay, so we need to talk about what that means. Start at 200 and use a bin width of 10. That means I'm going to put 200 right here, and it means go by tens. Because I want this to be pretty, I'm going to go out 2 graph paper boxes. For each 10. Okay. Now, histograms, they have different scales on the bottom, but the scales on the y-axis are always the same. You just put 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to go up to 10. And the label on the y-axis is always the same. It's the word frequency. Frequency means how many times does it occur? Here's the truth. I don't actually know how your class's data is going to look. I didn't do it before class. It's a mystery. I have no idea. We're going to find out together. I do know what group B looks like because I've been having my other classes also do group B. But group C, I've got no idea. So, okay. Here is the most important sentence I'm going to say about histograms. If a data value falls exactly on the line, it goes in the higher one. If a data value falls exactly on the line, it goes in the higher one, which means this is 200 to 209.9 repeating. If it was in 210, if the number was 210, it would go in here. If the number was 220, it would go in here. Do you see what I'm saying? Okay, now here we come to the worst part of class where we have to count the numbers because I didn't put them in least to greatest for you. Okay, so do I have any in the 200 to 210 range? Not yet. Any in the 210 to 219.9 repeating? No. Any in the 220 to 229.9 repeating? Yes. Okay, how many? 1, 2, 2. Okay. And that means you're going to make your bin too tall in that spot. Okay, now I'm going to ask it an easier question. How many do I have in the 230s? 1, 2. Did you guys get 2? Okay. 3, crap. Which one oh, I see the one I missed. It's okay because I live in the land of whiteout. I have to live in the land of whiteout. That's just. I have to live in the land of whiteout. I have to live with a car that I can scratch the wheels all along the curb. These are the laws of my life. Because it's going to happen. Okay. Did you scratch your wheels along a curb recently? Yeah. I know. It's very irritating. Okay. I feel like now I need to knock on something. Okay. So how many in the 240s? Can you guys at table 3 stop talking, please? I cannot focus. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, thank you. Thank you for checking me. Okay, 250s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Cripes. Good thing I made it go up to 10. One, 2, 3, 4. That's a weird shape. Okay, so looking at my shape notes, I think the one that describes this one the best is symmetric, but it's not perfectly symmetric. So what we're going to say is shape is roughly symmetric. This is one of the things about stats is things that don't come out perfect. Now, all of the bars of my histogram are attached to each other, so I don't really see any outliers. Do you guys know what I mean by that? If there was like a gap and then like a really high score, then that one might be an outlier, but these are all connected. And I'm going to teach you how to find the center and spread on the calculator. But just go ahead and get set up here. Okay. First thing I'm going to do is teach you how to type all of these into the calculator to get all of the statistics you need, and then it will help us also make the box plot. So here are the calculator instructions. I'm just going to write them down, and then we will do it all together. If you can't see the bottom part, it's okay. I'm gonna zoom in on that in just a little bit. Just get what you can for the moment. And then I'm just gonna move the thing around. Would you guys believe I had a student score in the 280s in my first period? I know. It blew my mind. I was so impressed. Okay, if you didn't get this all, it's okay. I'm going to zoom in on pieces of it. Don't worry. Okay, first thing we're going to do is work on the calculator instructions. So get the calculator out. I put it right here so you guys we can go do this together. Okay, I'm going to warn you, this is going to seem tedious, but I want you to imagine what it would be like without the calculator. So just be grateful. Okay, first, find the stat button. The stat button is located 2 over from the green button. So green button, 2 over is stat. So you have stat at the stat button. And then enter. And then we need to type our numbers into L1. I already have a bunch of stuff in my L1. Does anybody have stuff in their L1 already? Nobody in the whole class? Okay, let me teach you how to clear it. Everybody watch though, because you're going to have to do number 102 in a few minutes, which is going to require you to type a different set of numbers in group B. Okay, what you do is you take your up arrow and you arrow up to the top so that L1, the top of it's highlighted, and then you hit clear, enter. So scroll up to the top, clear, enter, and that will clear out all of your numbers. Okay, now I want you guys to all use your paper, not the screen, to type in the numbers from group C. 223, enter. 240, enter. Yeah. Nope. Group C. Okay, but hold, did you put group B in? That's going to be number 102. So just set your calculator off to the side and then you'll be ready, and then go off of mine for this one. Okay, so we're doing group C right now, but you guys are going to do group B in your group. So just hold that thought. Okay, now we're doing the next set of instructions right here. Stat. So push the stat button. Okay, calc is not a button, it's a menu. So you have to use the arrow key to scroll right. And then one variable stats. That's what this stands for, one variable stats. So that's what you want, hit enter. You want to make sure that your list says L1. Anybody's list say something other than L1. What does yours say? Okay, so what you want to do in that spot, see how L1 is right above the 1? You want to hit second one, and it'll change it to L1. People are getting crazy in the stats in the math 3 classes. Okay, so L1, enter, enter, enter. And look how fast it calculated all those things. Okay, you feel cheated because we made you do standard deviation by hand in math 1, but the calculator can do it. Okay, anyway, all right, so we're just gonna take these ones that I wrote down and copy them over here. Did you guys get the same thing as me? Okay. Okay, first number 248.25 is the mean. That's the class average. And the next number, this capital sigma X, we don't really use that. Please stop talking. We don't use that for anything except that's the number I look at to make sure I typed all my numbers incorrectly. So when I have this on the screen, you guys look up, you check to make sure we both have 6951 there. It's called the checksum. Okay, if you put in the wrong numbers, then just go off of my screen, not yours. Okay, SX is the standard deviation we were talking about, and I round this to 4 decimal places, 10.4585. Whoops, I wrote it wrong though. Correct. N is the amount of numbers that I typed in. So that's 28. Okay, and then you might need to scroll down, or you will need to scroll down to get the rest of them. This 5 set here is called the 5 number summary. And we use those to make the box plot. So 223, 241, 249, 255.5, 267. We have 2 more things to do with this problem. The first thing we need to do is fill these guys in from our calculator stuff. And then we need to make the box plot at the top. Okay, so center is X bar. I'm just going to copy that over. Median. Now, really interesting note, if you're interested in stats, if the mean and median are very close to each other, then you could tell that you chose the correct shape if it's roughly symmetric. If the mean and median are far apart from each other, there's some kind of skew. Okay, range is max minus min. So 267 minus 223, 44. IQR is quartile 3 minus quartile 1, 255.5 minus 241. 14.5. Standard deviation, we can just copy over. 10.4585. Okay, we're not done though. We have to do the box plots. Okay. So I put the box plot up here. You notice that I left some space above. Okay, and what I do is I take these 5 numbers in my 5-number summary and put little vertical lines in those spots. So for example, the min was 223, so I find 223-ish and put a little line there. Quartile 1 was 241, so like right there. The median was 249, so like right there. Quartile 3 was 255.5, so like right there. And 267 is like right about there. That's why it's called the 5-number summary, by the way. And then you connect the 3 middle ones to make your box and then go out to the whiskers. Okay. Before we move on, I have 2 things to say. First, I want to tell you what I expect in number 102, because you don't have to do this whole thing. Okay, so you guys are going to do number 102 in your groups. Number 102 is going to be the same thing, but for group B. But you're also trying to solve a mystery. What's interesting about group B? Also, what do you need? You need this and this, but you don't need to write any of this stuff again. This stuff was just to help you get this stuff. So what do you need? You need this and this. You don't need to write all of this again. Does that make sense? Because this was all just like instructions. Okay, now hold on before you start. I have a couple of other things to tell you, so just relax for a second. That's not it. Here it is. So this is what we're doing today. You're more than halfway done with it already. Okay, I just wanted to talk about the RIT score for a second. Math growth uses a scale called RIT to measure student achievement and growth. RIT stands for Roche Unit and is a measurement scale developed to simplify the interpretation of test scores. It is an equal interval scale like feet and inches on a ruler, so scores can be added together to calculate accurate class or school averages. Your average in this class was what? 240 something? Right? Wasn't it 248? The RIT scale ranges from 100 to 350. 100 would be like kindergarten. 350 would be like Calc BC, basically. So, you guys are in the upper end, which makes sense. RIT scores make it possible to follow a student's educational growth from year to year. As an example of how math RIT scores change as students move from grade to grade, a student may score in the 170s in 3rd grade and advance through high school. Interestingly enough, Ms. Rice told me that her son scored in the 180s in 1st grade. But I want you to imagine, so when you think about your math test results that I gave you, you know that graph on the back with all of your previous ones? Imagine how his is going to look if he takes them all the way from 1st grade to 12th grade. It's going to be it's going to be like a landscape graph. It's going to be cool. Anyway, and then I wanted to show you a grade level equivalent. So most everyone in this class scored 11th to 12th grade level, which is what we would expect. And then 10th grade is like a 229, 9th grade is like a 226, like that. And you want to look at that first column because we're in the fall. So, interestingly enough. Pretty good, pretty good. I'm excited about it. Okay. Now, homework tonight is 4 problems, 103, 104, 107, 109. 103 is one of these. You might want to try to go quick on number 102, especially if you don't own a graphing calculator, because you are going to have to type the numbers in L1 for 103. So you might want to try to get 103 done before you leave, especially if you don't own a graphing calculator. Here's my joke. There's a fraction, and then it says, do not remove bar from repeating decimal, and then there's a hole over here. Does it make sense?
Yeah. So.
You do get it?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Because if you took the bar off, what would happen?
Yeah.
The 3s would shoot out.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and then, but it looks like it may have already happened once. I picked this one because of the repeating decimal and the histogram. Okay, while you guys are working on 102, I'm gonna come stamp. I'm looking for the scavenger hunt, 80 to 84 and 86 to 91.